I'm Bambi Francisco for Vader TV, the network for innovators, and I'm speaking with Keith McCurdy. He's the CEO and co-founder of Vivity, which enables 3D chat rooms across social networks like Facebook. Keith, thanks for joining us. In this interview, we're going to be talking about online culture and how consumers are changing their behavior, specifically in virtual worlds. Now, we talked earlier, virtual worlds has sort of been around. Avatar's been around. I had one made for me back in 1999. It's definitely evolved a lot, but this is you're the expert here. Just give us a little bit background on how they have evolved.
Yeah. Well, there's been some false starts and a lot of evolution, like you point out. Back in the 90s, there was some experiments around virtual worlds and virtual experiences, but nothing really took off until the massively multiplayer online game business, which I was also involved with when I worked at Electronic Arts. But the first real MMOG, as they call them, came out in 1997. And it was called Ultima Online, and it was published by Electronic Arts, coincidentally, where I worked. And that was really the first one where hundreds of thousands of people were willing to pay money to be in an online environment and interact with each other. And it was, low resolution graphics by today's standards, but it was really moved.
It was like the Pong version of games.
But it moved beyond anything else, and it was a real stair step in adoption. And then Sony followed up with another one, and obviously. Worlds of Warcraft is now a gigantic one, and so, but that I think was really the driving force for people to understand about socializing and communicating online with each other in a real-time environment. And then in parallel with that, a very revolutionary product also from Electronic Arts, not that I'm here to plug Electronic Arts, called The Sims, came along, and it's the biggest selling PC game in the history of PC gaming, and they sold over 100 million DVDs for The Sims. And that was a very, very mass market, very popular with girls and women, which was the majority of their audience, which was the first time ever in the video game industry. That was where you had an avatar, or in a video game parlance, a character, and you got to grow it and live with it and have it go through all these experiences and emotions and so on and so forth. And I think the combination of those two things and instant messaging and putting that all together, I think now we're in a different place than we were in the 90s, and people, especially younger people, anyone under 30 now, thinks of being online with other people and having a character, whether you call it a character or an avatar or whatever, is just second nature. It's not a foreign idea. And then, as you pointed out earlier, the Wii comes along, and you create your Wii avatar and so on and so forth. This is now part of modern popular culture. To have a character, to be online with other people, that's an accepted online user experience that's just going to grow more and more and more.
What does that say about human nature, that they, or the kids, that they want another sort of their alter ego or just another character to represent themselves? I mean, I can't think of when I was younger having a character, or maybe just play or pretend.
Yeah, well, I mean, dolls is the playing. I mean, it's not very far from that, and. In fact, early on in the development of The Sims, the code name for the product was Dollhouse, and it was, it started. It's a little bit like that for adults. It's playing or playing with dolls and living through other things. Any type of online community like MMOG, Ultima Online, World of Warcraft, is role playing. These all come out of the rich history in the video game industry of role playing, where you get to play through your character and pretend to be somebody else, and those are wild. Role playing game is a whole genre in the video game industry. They're wildly popular.
I could visualize it now. I could watch my kids playing like army men. They love to play. The boys love to play with army men. Yeah. What are people doing in the virtual worlds? Are they meeting other people? Are they doing what you said, playing like they're playing house? I don't know.
In virtual worlds?
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple. That's a great question. There's a couple different ones. I think, and it which is good, I think, and promising for the future growth of the industry, is that it varies widely. So what you're doing in something like an MMOG, where it's very structured and you have a goal, you're going on a quest, you're trying to achieve something or do some type of resource management like acquire gold or what have you. And then you have something over here that's more casual, and you're just meeting friends and socializing and maybe looking at media, which is stuff like what we do, more like what you do on websites that are interactive, like social networks. And then you have things like Second Life, and there's stuff that goes on in there, and there's things like Club Penguin, which are more kid-oriented. So it's good that it's a wide variety. It's very flexible, and it can lead to it can map into a variety of things that are real in our modern day culture. Yeah.
How are these virtual worlds changing the way we socialize?
That's a good question. I think it's making people focus more, or we also use the word in our company, immerse more. If you're chatting with somebody online and in, say, an instant messaging client, which has been the predominant way of real-time communication in the last 10 years on the internet, and you're very distracted. You type something, you look away. It's a short burst of connectivity with the other person that just uses text, and it's only so rich what you can communicate in words. But when you're in a virtual environment, you actually see the other person. You see their mood. You see their behavior. When they turn away from you,
you see their mood. I guess the avatar.
Well, in ours, you can set the mood, and you can do all kinds of gestures, and there's facial, movements when they're happy or sad.
Come on, what about those yellow emoticons? I always use those.
Well, the yellow emoticons are the DOS of the modern day. Like you had a C, a cursor. And now we have Windows or the Apple. We've come a long way, but it's just a richer. You really can tell more about what the other person's feeling and thinking.
What are some of your observations you made about human nature? People, they like role playing.
Well, this is the underlying one that drives the whole idea of the company, which is that people will adopt a richer, more engaging experience if there's no barrier for them. So when in the video game industry, when we were doing 2D video games and we tried to go to 3D, the technology wasn't ready for us, and you had to buy a video card, and you had to put it into your machine, and you had to set a setting, and you had to load a configuration file, and we had this much adoption. And when the PlayStation came out and you opened a box for $100 and you put in a DVD and it was all 3D, the adoption took off. So people wanted the richer experience. They wanted the more immersive experience. And when you put the lower immersion and lower quality experience next to the richer one, they would always take this one if it didn't require them to do anything. So what we're trying to do with our company is make that as simple as possible, as easy as possible, put it inside the web browser where everybody's comfortable being and living, do not require any big download or application install.
People take a while. That's why it's like when the VHS or VCRs were around, you'd still have the blinking lights because people didn't know how to adjust that.
Exactly. And DVDs, anybody who, I have a 4-year-old that loads the DVD inside, so that's mass market. That's ready for prime time, easy. And you got to make it that easy.
What do you censor on your site? How do you police it? What do you allow?
Well, right now it's early, but we're really counting on the community themselves of users, because as we were speaking about earlier, when you have a Vivity scene inside Facebook, it's at first only accessible by your friends. So we're assuming it's the same mechanism that the way what's on your profile page on Facebook. You have your friends on Facebook. You wouldn't put anything on your profile you wouldn't want your friends to see, because they're your friends. So it's somewhat of a self-policing environment. Now people can upload things to Facebook or MySpace that are not, what MySpace or Facebook would want, and we have the same problems. One of the benefits of our system is because we're leveraging stuff that's on the web. You can load your Facebook pictures into your 3D environment. You can load your Flickr pictures into your 3D environment. If you can load them into those media sharing sites, then you can put them in our environment. What
about just contacting people, going out there and just being some person that just wants to meet all these public people and they start connecting and
Well, the beauty of it is when you put your scene, if you don't want somebody in your scene, you just click and you remove them from your friends list, and they're no longer able to access your scene. But
if they have it open and somebody connects with them, they could just say, hey, look, but do you allow that one person to only connect with other people once?
If you set your scene public, then anybody can come in, and if you set it private, then only the friends that you have.
So talking about the commerce part, because that's part of your model, what is it about people that they buy these virtual goods? What drives them to buy virtual goods? I know kids, like to collect cards, and they'll buy a lot of virtual stuff.
There's, a lot of it has to do with just self-expression. I think it's part self-expression because you want to say, I have these things,
yeah.
and you want to show them to your friend.
That's true.
The other thing
I have these books, I haven't read them, but...
Yeah, there's a great adult example.
Yeah.
It's like how many times do we walk into a house and people have all these books, like and people like, what do you do when you go to someone's house? They want to give you a tour.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't really care if the room is this way or that way or down at that hall. You're looking at the stuff in the room, right? And so this is about, as we used to say early on when we were starting the company, this is about your stuff.
Okay.
And this is about your virtual stuff, your pictures, your videos, the stuff in your room, the way you've decorated it.
And are you going to have Vivity dollars?
Possibly.
Vivity acorns? I forgot what the acorns. How are virtual worlds changing the way advertisers need to think about advertising?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think, you know, there are many people that know a lot more about the online advertising business than I, but I think it's very clear that the trend is the ad experience has to become richer and more engaging, and people have to see it and recognize it and feel something about it.
Yeah.
People have blocked out all the banner ads. They've blocked out all the 2x2s on the side. They're trying to go to Flash, and they're starting to block that out. Mm-hmm. You know, people are blocking out television commercials with TiVo and skipping them, and so, you know, I think we've got a lot of interest and a lot of excitement from the ad community because this is an opportunity to create an experience that's branded, where the person is voluntarily interacting with the experience. And so it's not like blocking out a banner ad or something. It's I want to go into that experience. I want to interact with that brand because that created something of value to me, the consumer.
Right.
And that's definitely transformational.
Well, anyone wants to create a Vader room, we're fine. They can create a Vader room and
we can talk
have
about
conversations about that. So anyway, so fascinating observations. Thanks so much, Keith.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with Keith McCurdy. He's the CEO and co-founder of Vivity. I'm Bambi Francisco.